Hi, are you from Pakistan and looking to qualify as a solicitor of England and Wales? If so, this video is for you. I'm Ingemar Hunnings, the lead consultant at HCL. We're a management consultancy helping businesses in the legal services sector. We do a lot of work with people wanting to qualify as solicitors, acting as external confirming solicitors for QWE, but also advising on SQE2 exam exemptions. We do a lot of compliance support work and work with case management systems like Leap and Clio and Proclaim. Um, so, what I'm going to be doing is explaining what is required by the SRA to qualify. I'll be looking at uh, describing and going through that in some more detail, looking at exemptions and how you can apply for them, what applies in various circumstances, with a particular focus on those people coming from Pakistan. So let me share my screen, and you'll see here on screen, I've set out the four elements required to qualify as a solicitor of England and Wales through the SQE route. That's what we're talking about, the SQE route. So the SRA requires that you have a degree or degree equivalent, that you pass the exams SQE1 and SQE2, that you have a minimum of 2 years full-time equivalent qualifying work experience confirmed to the SRA by an SRA regulated solicitor or a CULP, and then the usual things of proving your identity, criminal records checks, that sort of thing. Now, let's talk through those in a little more detail. Degree or degree equivalent. Please note that it's not a law degree. If you're using a training provider who says that you have to do a converter course because you didn't do a law degree, that is their requirement. It's not the requirement of the SRA. So just be aware of that. The SRA, through their website, your My SRA profile, they have ways of checking equivalency. I think they use a company called ENIC, but you'll need to follow what they tell you. Right, the exams, the SQE1 and the SQE2. So they are tough. The SQE1 exam tests you on your legal knowledge. It's a multiple choice exam made up of two parts, FLK1 and FLK2, functioning legal knowledge. As I said, it's multiple choice. There's usually more than one answer that could be correct. You're given, I think, four potential answers to each question. Of the people who sit the exam, roughly about 55% pass. It's tough time-wise as well, so timing is a really important factor. Now, you cannot apply to sit the SQE2 until you have either passed the SQE1 or if you've been exempted. The SQE2 exam tests you, of course, on your knowledge, but also on the application of that knowledge. It's the SRA having a look at you as if you were a newly qualified solicitor. Would you be a safe pair of hands for them to license to practice? Now, the SQE2 exam is made up of 16 questions, 12 written, 4 oral. The written questions and the SQE1 can be sat in the Pearson View Centres, and there are a number around the world. There might be one or two in Pakistan, I don't know. You'd need to check through the SRA website the availability at the time that you're planning to sit the exams. The oral parts of the SQE2, as at the time of me recording this, which is March 2026, you still have to travel to the England and Wales, the UK, to be able to sit the oral parts of the SQE2. But the rest of it you can sit anywhere else where the Pearson View Centres are. So a higher percentage of the people sitting the SQE2 do pass. But remember, that is a filtered group, of course, because only those who have been exempted from the SQE1 or have passed it can sit the SQE2. 2 years full-time equivalent qualifying work experience. So a few definitions in here. Full-time. So what does the SRA regard as full-time? Well, at least 32 hours a week of QWE. Okay, full-time equivalent, so you don't have to be working full-time. You could acquire your QWE in a longer period of time to get to the equivalent, full-time equivalent of 2 years. Or it could be that part of your work is not QWE. What is QWE? They have defined that as the provision of legal services, and they've made reference to the Legal Services Act. Um, they've gone on to say that it does not have to be done in a law firm. It does not have to be done in England and Wales. It does not have to be done in English and Welsh law. It could be voluntary, working in a charity, for example. You can reach back in time as far as you want for your QWE, and you can use an external solicitor to do the confirmation. So we act as external confirming solicitors, and we have done so since the summer of 2020, so before the SQE even came in. Now, we've done, at the time of recording this, March 26, we've recorded the QWE, we've confirmed the QWE of over 180 people from all over the world, including people from Pakistan. Over half of those are overseas, outside the UK. Over half are working in-house. There's all sorts of different ways that people have been providing legal services, so always very interesting. So I'm going to bring up onto screen the service that we provide. There we go. QWE External Confirming Solicitor Service. You can see the URL up there. If you are in a situation where you need to have your QWE confirmed and you don't have a solicitor to do that, then feel free to get in touch. There's a form you can fill in on our website, or you can email me. I would rather you didn't phone, because then it becomes a bit random. I've got no audit trail, and the likelihood is I'm going to be in a meeting, so I won't be able to answer the phone anyway. So best if you can fill the form in or email me. Okay. Let's just go back to here. So that's the qualifying work experience. As far as proving your identity is concerned, we do have a service helping people who don't have a solicitor to do that confirmation. The SRA, through your My SRA profile, use a company called Atlantic Data. So just mentioning that in case that's of any assistance to you. Your criminal records checks, that needs to be done in the country where you're living. Okay. Right, let's talk about exemptions. So you can't be exempted from the degree or degree equivalent requirement. You can't be exempted from proving your identity and such like. Now, with regard to the exams, the SQE1, in reality, the only way you're going to get an exemption from the SQE1 is if you happen to have sat the old LPC exam, the old route to qualify. We're still in a transition period, and you can still trade in your old LPC pass against an SQE1 exemption. Okay. It's about the only way you're going to get an exemption from the SQE1, and the SRA don't seem to want to grant exemption from both exams, which makes sense to me. Who can apply for exemption from the SQE2? Only those people who are qualified already as lawyers. Okay, and I'll go into how you do that a little bit later. Now then, exemption from the QWE. Only someone who is qualified as a lawyer already may be exempt from the the QWE element. That'll happen automatically by you uploading your proof of your qualification. However, there is a wrinkle in this. If you have applied for an exemption from the SQE1 and you're sitting the SQE2, the SRA says you still have to get your QWE confirmed. Okay. If, however, you're sitting and passing the SQE1 and you're applying for an exemption from the SQE2, then you will be automatically exempted from the QWE requirement. So you may want to listen over again to this bit here because that's a little bit technical there. So just need to match your circumstances. Okay. And at this point, I'll just pause to bring up on screen that we have a YouTube channel. You're probably watching this on YouTube. So if I can encourage you, please, to subscribe, like, let other people know. Lots of videos in here to help people with various different elements of the SQE and QW in exemptions, as well as others like the blue ones are compliance and the orange ones are to do with the LEAP case management system, etc. So going back to the exemptions, SQE1 exemption, really straightforward and what you're doing with regard to that. SQE2 exemption, we have a service assisting people with that. SQE2 exemption here, you can see the URL. It explains everything in here. You can download the form, which I'm going to go through in a moment from here. There we go. Plus, we do have a service for a nominal figure of £250 plus VAT if you're in the UK to help you through the process, giving you simple templates and reviewing your drafts. Let me now take you to what the SRA says that someone qualified in Pakistan needs to do to obtain an exemption from the SQE2 exam. So first of all, I point out that although the SRA lists various different provinces of Pakistan where you might be qualified, actually the terms are exactly the same. So I'll just follow this one through here because it's the same wording in each of those. So if you are qualified as a Pakistani advocate, you can make an individual application for exemption from the SQE2. You do not have an agreed exemption. So what would you need to do? You would need to provide uploading through your MySRA profile proof of your qualification. The admission certificate is the easiest to do. You would also need to prove that you have at least 18 months legal work experience post-qualification. Okay, now at least 18 months legal work experience. Legal work experience is a different definition from the QWE, so put QWE out of your mind. It's legal work experience. So that has to be, does not have to be done in the jurisdiction where you qualified, but it has to be at least to the level of the Pakistani advocate qualification. Okay, the letter of reference, or it could be you have more than one because you have more than one periods to make up your minimum 18 months post-qualification. It's likely that you'll draft the letter of reference for your referee. The referee has to be someone who directly supervised your work. There are some technical things that need to be included in the letter of reference. Hence, we have this service telling you what needs to be in there and giving you a simple template and checking your draft. Now, also, as well as that, you would, of course, need to submit the form and pay their fee, which I think is currently £265, and also proof of your referee's qualification. Okay, if they're a lawyer, then it would be their admission certificate. If they are a professional but not a lawyer, for example, an accountant, then proof of their qualification. Plus, you would need to include in the letter of reference an explanation as to how they were suitable for supervising your legal work. If they're not a lawyer or a professional, you can still have them as your supervisor, your referee, but you will still need to prove, explain in the letter how they were suitable for supervising your legal work. Okay, so those are the requirements. Let me take you to the actual form itself. So this is the form. Section 1 is who you are. Section 2, the bar where you're qualified. And Section 2.2, as a Pakistani advocate, I think the answer to all of these practice areas is yes. These are the practice rights that are given to you by your qualification. 3 is ethics. 4B is what you fill in, not 4A. You don't have an agreed exemption. So 4B with the details of the organization or organizations where you've done your post-qualification legal work experience. the form is not very friendly, and so you may struggle a bit to get in the details of more than one organization, etc. Yeah, but do your best. SQE2 exemption is what you're applying for. You do not need to fill in sections 5 and 6, which is a blessing. So you're great straight down to section 7. And yours will be 7C that you fill in, because the SRA wants 2 years legal work experience. Now yours is what they're taking into account is 6 months that you have to do as part of your qualification, and then the remaining 18 months they want to see post qualification. So you put in the information in here. You do not need to fill in section 8. Okay, which is good. So that is what you will need to put in. So a reminder that you can get in touch with us through filling in the form on our website or emailing me. Please don't phone. Okay, and we do help with the QWE confirmation and with the SQE2 exemption applications. And also, if you need someone to do the ID verification, we can help with that as well. So I hope that's of help, and I wish you all the best.